Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. If it's your first time joining, thank you. If you're a previous subscriber, a new subscriber, or you're coming from a previous video you viewed on my channel, welcome back. In today's video will be part 3 of the In the Hoop embroidery wallet design, or the wallet pattern. And in the first video I talked about the supplies you would need and your fabric measurements. And again, I want to let you guys know that I have gotten permission from the designer to be sharing this pattern with you. Please look in the description box below for the Etsy page where you can go, or the Etsy store where you can go to actually buy the design. You will need to purchase the design to get the stitch out, which will be like this. And this was my mock-up pattern. When I was first making it, I had a lot of issues with it. And as we go along, I will share those issues that I had at, when we get to that point. I had some issues with stabilizers. I had some issues with the marine vinyl not working for me. Some designs on my FAF embroidery machine work really well with the marine vinyl. I can make the key fobs and things like that, and the marine vinyl works really well. But for this design, it just did not work. So I will be using quilter's cotton for this whole pattern, or this whole design. If you have not seen the first video or the second video, please refer to those, because you will have to do those steps before you get to where we are today. In the previous video, this is the stitch out that we completed. And these are the inner portions of the wallet right here. And these are where the wallet is going to be folded, and where you will be attaching the pockets and the card slot areas for the inside of the wallet. So that's what these are. And in this first pattern, I did the contrasting thread, and I did discover that you can see a lot of the white thread through the inside. On this lighter fabric, I could see the thread. So what I decided to go ahead and do is just to use a coordinating color match thread in this one. So today we're going to be doing this portion of the wallet. And when you were finished, you're going to have this complete stitch out and the pieces attached. So this will be the biggest portion of the wallet that we will be doing, and it is going to be the longest video of this design. I am breaking it up into different sections because it does take quite a while to stitch out each portion, to remove the hoop from the machine, to layer the fabrics, everything like that. So these are going to basically be in real time, other than when this is actually doing the stitch out. It'll be like this, oriented into the machine. And when this is stitching out, this took over 30 minutes to stitch out. It might have been as much as 45 minutes just for this portion. That does not include the satin stitch around it. So we're going to go ahead and get to it. I will move these aside. And our first thing that we are going to do is we are going to be stitching our placement stitch. Let me go ahead and move everything out of the way. And we've got Luna up here. You can kind of see her face here. Luna the Crafty Kitty is sitting on top of the machine, so we are going to have to move her. Big stretch on the machine. So we're going to have to move her aside. Little one, you need to move. So we got to work. We got to work today. Okay? Can you move? She's not happy. The weather's really nasty here in New Mexico today. It's supposed to be really bad tomorrow as well. We're getting a lot of thunderstorms, and there are winter storm watches all over the state. The last storm we had, one of the ski areas got over 30 inches of snow. A lot of people do not realize that yes, it does snow in New Mexico, and we do have some really good ski areas here. But it is really nasty and dark out there today. It's about, it's going on 8:30 in the morning, and it looks like it's about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the evening. It's so dark out there right now. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and we're going to move little girl. Hey, sweetheart, we're going to move you off the machine. Come on. Let's go. Let's go. Come on, big girl. Okay, so I put her on top of my chair, and I am going to go ahead and pause the video, and I'm going to adjust the machine, or I'm sorry, I'm going to adjust the camera, and we're going to be looking from this view today instead of in front of the camera or in front of the machine, because I keep hitting the camera and I'm doing a little bit of damage to it. So I'm hoping if I change directions, we will be a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I will be right back. Okay, so we have the camera adjusted, and you'll be able to see the whole machine today. As I was talking, we are going to be constructing the main portion of our wallet today. And when we're finished, it will look just like this. We're going to be attaching our pieces, and there are a lot of steps that involve getting to this point. So today, I was saying that today will be a longer video. I will kind of pause the video during the stitching because the stitching of the body, this portion of the wallet, takes anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes. I can't remember the exact time. And then the satin stitch was like another 30 minutes, something like that. So it will be, it will involve a lot. Okay, so I have my water-soluble stabilizer hooped. I am going to come over here to the machine and get my design into the machine. And I've mentioned before that on my FAF machine, it is a long press to bring up my files. So it does take a minute to get my designs up. I do, this machine is a little bit older. I did buy it secondhand, for those of you that do not know that. I bought it secondhand from Amazon, and I got a really good deal on it, and my dealership, my local FAF dealership, said that I did a really good deal on this machine when I purchased it. But it is a little slow, and sometimes she can be a little cantankerous, but we work through it. Okay, so when you put your design into your machine, you're going to be bringing up file number 2, and this is the main part of the wallet. So I'm bringing up file 2, my VP3 format. Let me move this out of the way. And it's telling me my 260 by 200 hoop. We have our 260 by 200 hoop. I am going to hit my stitching. It's telling me to go ahead and insert the hoop into the machine. I've mentioned before in other videos that I have had to replace my embroidery unit because the previous owner, there's a track that it rides in back here, and then this front one here. but the bracket, the metal piece that holds it into this part, actually broke because the technician believes that the previous owner was picking it up by the arm. Huge no-no. These are very fragile and you do not want to do that. I always mention this because safety of your embroidery unit when you are putting your hoop onto the bracket, I guess you'd call it. I like to hold here so my arm isn't going to flex back and forth either way. So I hold here and push my hoop in and it's going to pop. That little snap locks it in. I'm going to hit OK. It's going to go to starting position. And our first thing that we're going to do is we are going to stitch color number 1, which is our placement stitch. I did mention in the previous video about where she says different colors. When you have your design and the file brought up into the machine, you'll see different colors. And I was telling you in the previous video, the reason why she has the different colors is just to help you with placement of the of where either you're going to fold or where you're going to place the next piece of fabric. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. I'm going to hold my thread tail. So we're going to just do our placement stitch first. I'm going to pause and clip this thread tail so we don't get any tangles. And on this portion, it did a rounded corner. You can see that rounded corner. At the top, it's going to do like a squared corner. And that is for the rounded edge of the wallet right here. Okay, so make sure my thread is cut. Okay. Now we're removing the hoop because our next step is you're going to take the hoop off the machine and you're going to take your batting. And it's okay that it's got the fold in it. It's not a big deal. It'll work out in the end. And then what you're going to do when you remove your hoop, you're going to place the interfacing fabric face up on the back of the hoop. So I was incorrect. So your interfacing fabric, and that crease is fine. It will work out. And so we're going to just make sure that it does cover everything. And in the wallet, when I was doing the practice mock-up so I could learn the design, I was experiencing some really bad issues at this point. Let me show you here what I'm talking about. I believe this was the first one. So I got my fabric on, no problem. This is the back. And then I got my batting. This was my first, whoops, I'm sorry about that. This was my first try. And what happened was, as I was using quilt basting spray, and my FAF machine is really picky. I can get away with 2 layers of thin spray, but if I do anything more than that, it starts breaking threads and gumming up my needle. She's just picky. Some machines you may not have any problems at all, but I did. So what I had done is when I put my back piece of fabric on, I spray basted it. Let me move this out of the way. I spray basted it. And then one of our next step is going to be that we're going to attach the batting. And in this first one, I was using a 80-20 cotton, 80% cotton, 20% polyester quilt batting because I have lots of scraps of that and it works fine. And then I put the vinyl down and I used another spray of the quilt basting spray. And it's still tacky, but what happened is when I was stitching, it started skipping stitches and it was breaking thread. I probably broke the thread 3 or 4 different times on this and backed it up to restart my stitch, and it started skipping stitches everywhere. And I don't know if it was the combination of the quilt basting spray and the vinyl gumming up the needle that was doing it. I did not know. So I took this off. I wasted my tearaway stabilizer, my fabric, my scrap batting, and a piece of vinyl. So I had to start all over because I just kept on having such bad issues. So this is the next piece. I went ahead and did the backing. I did water-soluble stabilizer this time because I know that I was going to get that fuzziness from the tearaway stabilizer, and I did not want that on the design. You can see how you can see the white edges here, and that is from the inner fabric and the tearaway stabilizer. And I did use the tearaway stabilizer on our first portion, but I did use color. You can see that the thread matches better now. So it's concealing that little fur fuzzed edge of that paper stabilizer that tearaway stabilizer when I tore it off. So it concealed it. No problem on that one. So that is why I went ahead and used the water soluble this time on the main portion of the wallet. I don't want that fuzzy white edge to be seen on the edging, like you can see the thread on this one. So no tearaway stabilizer, and we'll be using color matching thread this time. Okay, so in my second attempt, did the water soluble stabilizer, stitched the back to it, and again I used quilt basting spray. This time I used my Pellin stabilizer, or the interfacing, or batting, whichever you want to call it, because I decided it's going to give more structure to the wallet, which I wanted. So I went ahead and sprayed that down, and that one achieved, it worked really well. I do not have basting spray on this layer, and then I used my vinyl again. So what happened again is my thread was breaking. I don't know if you can see anymore, but the vinyl is actually perforated where it was stitching and the thread was breaking. And I just decided at this point, no vinyl. It's just not going to work for me on my machine with this design. That is why I recommend that you do a test design, a test stitch out of this design if you were going to gift these or sell them. That way you can learn what is going to work best for you with your machine and your products that you're using, your fabrics, your vinyl, your stabilizer, your batting, whatever you're going to be using. So what works for me is just the fabric and no basting spray. We'll just be using either glue stick and tape. So our next step now is, let me move my paper aside. And over here, I'm going to put this down and I'm going to tape this layer. And you need to be really careful when you're doing the backing. You don't want to put a lot of pressure on the stabilizer because you can stretch it out of place. I've done that on previous projects I have worked on, and it does get really frustrating. It gets disappointing. Okay, so you can see the stitching, and you can see through where I'll be placing the fabric. So you want to make sure that you are over your stitch lines. I'm going to trim this little thread. Make sure everything looks good. And it sounds like it may be starting to rain again, and I hope not. If it does start raining really loud, I'm going to pause the video and then pick up after the rain slows back down. That way I just don't have a lot of background noise in the video. And if I'm doing the stitch out, of the main portion, I will go ahead and continue, pause and go ahead and just continue doing that stitch out, which I would have paused the camera anyway while that was stitching, just to save time in the video, that you guys don't have to sit there for the 30 to 45 minutes and watch that about the stitching. That's really time consuming, and I know some people really like to watch that, some people don't. Of course, I could always speed up the video, but it's just as easy, saves time and work of editing, to just pause the video and let it continue doing what it needs to do. Okay, so I went ahead and taped all around. The little bit of creasing here isn't going to do anything because it's going to be concealed. It will stitch out. Okay, so what I'm doing here off camera is I just have this laying flat on my table, and I'm smoothing with my hand gently, so I'm still not stretching with pushing or moving it around. And I'm just making sure that the tape is attached well. I did have little folds of my tape when I put the hoop back into the machine, that one of the little folds on the tape caught and was stuck and stitched into the previous design, but I was able to get that out. I was able to pick it out with tweezers. Okay, so I have the backing fabric attached. Now what we're going to do is we're going to flip it back over. Whoops, let's see. We are going to remove the hoop from the machine. Okay, place the interfacing fabric face up on the back of the hoop, fix with glue or adhesive tape. We've got that. Okay, so that is what that looks like. Then you're going to take it and stitch. I am missing a portion. Where is that? There we go. Stitch color 2, 3. Oh, okay. I did not miss a portion. So we did this portion. Now we are going to attach it back into the machine. again, I'm going to hold here, not where the bracket, where the hoop is going into, but I'm going to hold here again so it's not flexing back and forth. Okay, so now I'm going to stitch color 2. These are going to be my auxiliary stitches that will serve me in the future. Okay, and hold my tail, go ahead and hit start. Pause and clip that thread tail. I do have all my other jump stitches turned on to cut the jump stitches, so I don't have a lot of unnecessary threads being stitched over or anything like that. And this portion is going to just take 2 minutes to stitch, so I'm going to go ahead and just keep the camera on. You can see my little basket, my little bin of supplies over here. Okay, so now it's going to stitch this arc portion, and that's just going to be where I attach this portion, like it's going to be where you hand sew your pockets to. So that's the portion it's doing now. And you can see faintly on this design that you can see kind of the arcs here. And I really like this time that I am using the color matching thread, because on this one, I just didn't like how I could still see those. No shade being thrown on the designer, but I want it to blend in a little bit more. Just my personal choice. Okay. Okay, so now that portion is done. It does tell you to go ahead and take your, does it tell you take it back off? No, it doesn't tell you to take it off, but our next step, if you wish, if you're going to do your spray basting, go ahead and take it off the machine so you're not spraying your basting spray on the machine. But now we're going to just slide the batting right up on top, and I found that my Pellin batting stuck to the water soluble really well. Or what you can do is you can just take a glue stick and just, I will show you here in just a moment. And this is what I just put a little dab of glue on each corner, and I'm going to stick that back up under there and just kind of push on those little corners a little bit, just so I know that that is going to stay. And my fingers are really dry, so it's stuck to my hand. Okay, so now you're going to stitch your next color, and this is going to be what holds your batting down. So let me pull my thread out just a little. I'm going to go ahead and start the stitching. And this, what we're stitching now, is stitch color 3. And I'll be cutting where that crease is. I'll be cutting that off, so we are good there. Okay, so that is your placement stitch for your batting. Now what you're going to do is we are going to cut off your excess batting. And so we stitched out color 3. You're going to cut off your excess polyester batting around the stitch. She does say I recommend cutting the polyester batting at this stage to avoid thick seams. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure my thread's cut. Lift, make sure that's good. And take it back off the machine. And you can see here now that you have some of these stitches, and I went ahead and just cut those to prevent any further issues as we're going along. Those were kind of like where the jump stitches were of the previous step. And you don't have to cut them off if you don't want to, but I just want to go ahead and cut them off to prevent any type of thread nesting or anything like that. Nothing for anything to get caught on. And just kind of makes it look a little bit neater as well. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut all this excess batting off. So I will do that off camera, and I will be using my little tiny embroidery scissors. I mentioned in the previous video that I will be purchasing some regular applique scissors. I just have not done them yet. But you can see that it has that little curve right there. And it's going to help me prevent digging the tip of the scissors into the stabilizer or the fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and pause, and I will be right back. Okay, so I have the excess batting cut off, and that's what that looks like there. I did get a little close right here and kind of cut a little too far in, but the top is going to cover that and the satin stitching. So now our next step, after we cut the batting, excess batting off, is you're going to put your main fabric face up. So we got my main fabric here, and I've got a little fuzz ball on it, and go ahead. Now on this portion I did have a little problem on the previous my test piece, and what happened is she states in the directions that please note that in this model there is no any stitch that fixes the fabric to the stabilizer. Since numerous testing of various fabrics have shown that many fabrics may move slightly while embroidering, and therefore a fold can appear at the edge of the embroidery. So that did happen to me here. You can see this little pucker right here. I'm sorry, the lighting wasn't very good there. Sorry about that. So you can see that little pucker right there. It wasn't super noticeable, but if I'm going to be selling something or gifting something, I want it to be as perfect as possible. So what I'm going to try to do is I am just going to glue my edges of the fabric down, and I'm going to do that again off camera. I will, let's see if I can get this. So I'm just going to, I will show you here in just a second. And I was going to do it off camera. Might as well just show you guys what it's going to look like. So I'm just around all on the border there. We are going to smooth this out. And I am matching my edges with the back fabric. And I am making sure that I'm pushing that fabric down onto that glue. I know, I'm sorry that this is off camera. I will show you here in just a second. And you want to make sure, just like when you're doing a quilt top, that you want to make sure that you press from the inside out so you can smooth any wrinkles. And you can see that that is stuck to that glue. I did not put any glue on the center. And the reason why I did that is just, I don't want to gum up my needle. Some people say that stitching over the school glue, the glue sticks, never causes any problems with their machine. I don't want to jinx anything, so I'm just doing my edge. And again, I am sorry, I am off screen here, or off screen. I'm making sure that I've got all the wrinkles pressed out of this area, and now I'm going this way. And when I go this way, you can see that there is a little bit of a wrinkle there. And I want to make sure that I get that out now before I start the stitching, because I do not want any puckers if I can prevent it. So I am liberally placing that glue on that water-soluble stabilizer, and you can see that I am not going right up against the fabric of the batting. I did hear a little bit, but that won't be too bad right there. And I am making sure that I am really pressing that fabric onto that glue, just so I know that there won't be a lot of pucker. I'm not overly stretching the fabric. There is some play in it still. You can see that there is some play in it still, but there's no big creases here in the where I've laid it down. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to start our stitch out. Now this is the part that does take quite a while. I'm going to go ahead and put it back into the machine. I'm again holding my embroidery arm. Now on my machine it says that this is going to take 58 minutes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start stitching, and hopefully it does not do any thread breaks. Let's knock on wood that it does not do any thread breaks. I'm a little apprehensive to hit that start button because this is where a lot of the problems started on my mock-up design, that when I first did that one, my trial design. I don't know why I keep saying mock-up. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to let's just go for it. You know what? Before I do that, I'm going to pause and I'm going to thread or wind another bobbin, because I remember when I was doing the stitch out on the trial one, I did run out of my bobbin thread in this portion of the stitching. It's going to be in the machine like this, but on this portion of the stitching I ran out of bobbin thread. So I am going to pause, go ahead and wind another bobbin, And when I get that done, I will come back and I will start the stitching. Give me just a moment. Okay, so I went ahead and threaded 2 extra bobbins. Figured since I was doing 1, might as well go ahead and do 2. Better safe than sorry. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit start and hope that there's not going to be any puckering. While winding the bobbins, that did give that glue a little bit of time to set, so that is also really good. So if you remember correctly, I told you it's not going to do any placement stitch around it. It's just going to start right into this wavy section here. I was going to say curly Q, but that wasn't right. So this edge here, and then it's going to only do half of it and then come back down and start this portion. Okay, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and pause, cut the thread tail. Okay. And it is going to be a little bit harder to see because it is a color matched thread on the fabric. Okay, it is telling me 1 hour and 1 minute to do this actual stitch out. At this part of the, I'm going to pause for just a second. I see a thread under here and I'm not sure what that's from. I think it's sticking out of my cubby down here. So I'm hoping when it gets back that way a little further, I'm going to try to clip that off. It might, no, it's actually attached to the frame. Okay, so just cut that off. Okay, so now what it's doing is it is starting to do this portion, this little build up here. So it'll start doing a little bit just along the edge, and then it will go down and do this half. I guess this would technically be like a knockdown stitch. Okay, so I was wrong. I thought it was going to do that portion. It's going to go ahead and do, I think, start the flowers. It's been a couple weeks since I did that, so. I am really happy with the stitching so far. I'm going to pray that it continues doing well. I think this is going to be really pretty with the, I guess, the lavender colored thread on the light purple fabric. You're still going to get the dimension, but it's not going to be quite like this one, where it's got the deeper color of the purple. I couldn't think of my words. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the video. When it starts, when it completes more of the stitching, I will come back and show you how it's looking, and I will see you in a few moments. Okay, so I've got the camera zoomed in so you can see a little bit better. You can see that the flowers on the front portion are starting to take some outline. Sorry about the vibration. It is a lot of close stitching right there, so it is kind of vibrating. I'm going to go ahead and leave that to record for a few minutes so you can see what's happening. Now the flowers are really going to start taking some definition. I'm not getting any puckering at all in the design, which I am really happy about. I think my little glue trick worked. We will see when we go to trim the fabric before we do the satin stitch around the edging if the glue stick was a mistake or not. It should just lift really easily. That's one good thing about the glue sticks that are really great for quilting, because you can move things easily and it just washes out. Okay, for some reason, I'm not sure right here, but it left a space where it didn't stitch. I'm hoping that it will come back and stitch it. It didn't stitch in a portion that's right, sorry, in this area right here. It's got a little section right there that didn't stitch. I'm not sure why that did that. I don't remember it doing it when I did the trial project. It's saying that we still have 38 minutes in the stitch out. So I'm going to go ahead and pause again, and I will come back when the flowers are complete. Be back in a second. Okay, so it finished stitching out the flower. I'm going to back you back out just a little bit. Up, not in, but out. It did not fill in that portion of the flower, which is right here. It's this portion. There's a little section right there where it would be on the wallet right here, where it did not stitch, and I'm not sure why it has not done that. I'm hoping that I won't have to come back and do this whole stitch out again just because of that little section. I may be able to hand stitch right there, or maybe even just do a zigzag stitch in that little area and tie off. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why it did that. I don't remember it leaving an empty space when I did the previous stitching. So it's now doing the kind of, okay, so it just stopped and it's telling me bobbin. So I don't cut at this portion. I just hit OK, and it goes to my bobbin position. So I'm going to go to my bobbin. And I actually have quite a bit of thread. Well, no, I don't. So we're going to just go ahead and clip that off. Go ahead and put one of the new bobbins in. And I don't like to cut the thread here because I can just... Come on, come off. Oh, that's not the one I wanted to use. I wanted to use my actual FAF bobbin. And pop that little guy right in there. And I just use my tweezers to get the thread in the little tracks where it needs to go. And then I go to current position. I hit current position, and I know you're not supposed to do this, but I just kind of pull the thread back up and start stitching again. Okay, and it is stitching okay. I know some people will save this thread that's the remainder of it that's on the bobbin, but I just, I don't have a lot of extra bobbins anymore to spare because I do have them, a lot of them filled. So it's not really that much thread waste, I just toss it. I do have to keep it in a covered trash can on the floor. That way Luna does not get in and eat any thread. I caught her before I started using a covered trash can. I caught her playing with the thread before, and she was eating it, and I was able to get it and pull it out of her throat, actually, because she had it hanging out of her mouth. So I was able to pull it up out of her throat. You don't want to let pets eat the thread. Same with dogs if you have like a rope toy. I've heard and seen bad cases where it can tie off in their stomach and do damage to their intestines, knot up in their intestines, and cause intestinal death, where it knots and kills off the intestine. So I get really scared about that and try to keep all that away from her. Okay, so it still has 28 minutes to stitch out. So I'm going to go ahead and let it continue stitching. And again, I will be back in just a couple minutes. Okay, we are just about halfway with the top portion being complete of this portion, all this portion being done, and then it will finish the little wavy edge. So far, so good. I'm still worried about this little portion here. I'm hoping it will come back up and fill that in. I'll just let that go ahead and stitch for a few minutes so you guys can see. After this stitch out, after this project, I may have to lubricate my track on my machine. Sometimes it gets a little squeak in there, and there's a type of grease that you use to just kind of put on the track, and this is what I use. It's Super Lube. It's multi-purpose synthetic grease, and I saw a video of a FAF repair technician where he cleans the machine and the embroidery unit and lubricates the track. Periodically you want to clean it out in there because it will get lint and some dust and things in there. And I just use a Q-tip and just go in there and kind of clean it out. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause again, and when we get further down to the end, down in this area down here, I will come back again. Okay, we are getting pretty close to the end section. I am going to pay closer attention right now because when we got to this portion right here is where that pucker started to develop. So I'm going to be paying a lot of attention right here in this end area. I do not want a pucker to form again, and it still has not come back up to the top to fill that area in. I'm still hoping that will do that. Okay, so far so good, no pucker. Again, I'm hoping that when the glue stick that I put down here around the edges of the fabric to hold that down, I'm hoping that worked. This thread on this lavender fabric, or the light purple fabric, almost makes it look white or a silvery kind of gray. You're easier to tell on this one that it is a really light purple. I know it might be hard to see in that lighting, but it blends in really well. Kind of almost like a silver with a really light purple undertone. Okay, so let's hope this goes well. There's 4 more minutes in this portion to stitch out. My nerves are kind of ramping up a little because I want this to turn out really well. And I knew that this was where some of the puckering happened last time. We're getting close to this area that was right over here where that pucker was on the edge, and I really am thinking that the glue trick worked, the glue stick trick. So when it got to this portion of, you can see that secondary stitch that's just like about not even a 1/4 inch from the edge. That is where the pucker formed. So far, no pucker. I'm really happy. I am going to, you can see where it's now coming back up to the top with that second outline stitch, and I'm really, really hoping that it is going to fill that in at the top. I may be able to fix it if it doesn't, like I said, with a regular small zigzag stitch. Okay. Okay, so now it is stitching the outer placement stitch here. And this may be where the pucker would develop if it does. Oh, I'm so happy. No pucker. Okay, so that is the completed stitch out on the top portion. I am going to trim this jump stitch. Now what we're going to do, our next step, is that we are going to remove the hoop from the machine and we're going to turn it to the back side. So I am going to pause the video, zoom it back out so you can really see this next portion that is in the construction where the arcs, where we're going to attach those. This part made me really nervous on my test piece, so I'll be right back and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so I thought everything was going well. The front looked really good, and you can see where I was talking about right here, where it skipped these stitches right here in this little section. So before I paused the camera, I told you that we were taking the hoop off and we were going to be going on with the next step. So that right now is going to be paused because I have to, everything we just did up until this point needs to be started over and redone. Now, you're going to ask why? Why? Everything looks okay except for that one little spot right there. Well, now here we go. I'm really disappointed because it was going so well. And ta-da! Really, really bad thread nesting. And where that skipped stitches were, you can see that it really nested up really bad in that area. And I don't know what caused that. I really don't know what caused that. I was not touching the frame. I don't know what happened. So now at this point, I'm going to pause the video and I need to cut my fabrics again. And I'm laughing at myself because when I was doing my test project, there was just so much happening that I was getting very discouraged. And truthfully, guys, right now I am really discouraged. I am not going to delete this whole video. I'm not. because I want you to know, I want you to see what can happen. You think everything is going well, and you'd think, well, why can't you just continue? Why can't you go ahead and continue? Well, I can't, because this is the inside of the wallet. You are going to see that on the inside. So, you see what I'm talking about? You would be able to see this. This is... I'm really frustrated right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do this again all off camera. Guys, I'm really discouraged right now, and it's actually kind of a good thing, because you guys can see what can happen. It looks like everything was going well. I don't know what happened right there. With this one, that might be where I changed the bobbin thread. That might have been there. I don't know what happened here. I really don't. The only thing I can do on this next stitch out is slow down my speed. Hopefully that takes care of the problem. I really don't know why that happened, and I'm pretty upset right now. Really not upset, but discouraged. So we're gonna pause the video. I'm gonna turn off the camera. I'm gonna continue off camera until I get to this portion again, and then I will pick up again, and you guys will see, hopefully, that I did not I did not have any more problems. With the magic of editing and filming, when I come back, hopefully this issue will be taken care of. See you then. Okay, so where I left off previously, I was talking about the error that the stitch out did in this little portion here, and that was the only really bad place on the front. But then when we took it off the hoop, we discovered that, or I discovered, that we had some really massive thread nests back here, and I'm still not sure what did this. I don't know. It could have just been the speed of the machine. As you can see, stitching out is, I told you I had to redo it, and it is almost complete. So we are right now just stitching out this double line right here, and that is what this is doing now. What I ended up doing, what I changed, was the speed of the machine, and I actually slowed it down to the second slowest speed, and it's doing great. It's doing great now. This one, it stitched out up here fine. It didn't do this little mistake here. So once I got past that, I was really happy with it. Now the big thing is going to be when we take it off the hoop here in just a second. And I'm telling you guys, this has literally been, with the trial one that I did first, and then the two others that I showed you that were mistakes where I had done them on the vinyl first. So that was 2, 3. This one would have been attempt 4. This is attempt 5. And let's hope that when we take this off to do the next step, the back portion looks okay. And if that is the case, it will be 5th time is a charm. And I'm really hoping that this one is working. I did make some notes here on my direction printout that to slow the machine down to the second slowest speed in this portion. It seemed like everything else when we did it on medium stitching speed did okay. So we are just about to the end. And I would peek under here a couple times when it got to where the position where it's at right now. I peeked under here a few times and it looked okay. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take it off the machine. I'm going to trim that thread. And there we go. It looks really good. I'm really happy with that. I do have some jump stitches here that I need to trim. And I'm going to do that really quick. And then I'll be right back and I will show you our next step. Okay, so I adjusted the camera a little bit more so I could show you our next steps. So we went ahead and trimmed those jump stitches, or I went ahead and trimmed those jump stitches. So our next step now is going to be, we're going to take our semicircular pieces or half circular pieces that we stitched, and I'm going to trim. There's a couple stitches that I missed. And what I want to do is you're going to leave these tabs here. And sorry I'm not in frame. I'm not used to filming with the camera this close. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to find the side with the better looking stitches, because that is going to be what's showing. And you'll see one side that looks a little bit better than the other, and just decide which one you like best. And I am going to make when we did the stitch out on this, I'm going to keep the top side as the outside, because what that's going to do is that when the wallet is put together, you're going to see that top side from, let me show you on the sample wallet. So when when these pieces are constructed, you're going to be able to see this from the outside when you got your pockets, even when the pockets are sewn in there, you're going to see that. And it just looks a little bit nicer. Those stitches look a little, sorry, I keep getting out of frame. You're going to see this from the outside. And it just looks a little bit neater. If that doesn't bother you, no problem. But one side does look a little bit better than the other. So I'm going to make sure that I put that better looking side so it will be seen from the outside. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you're going to take your 2 half circles, and where that arc section stitched here, I know it's kind of hard to see. Even when you get a little closer, you can see that stitch there. So we're going to line those up, and you're going to line it up with the straight edge, and you're going to line it up with the straight edge here. I just kept on hearing a noise and I couldn't figure out what it was, and it's my wind chime blowing on my front porch. I hadn't heard it in a while. Okay, I got another little thread here. I am trimming just off camera. Okay, so I'm lining those up, and I want to make sure my lines are straight. And you're going to either tape these down or I believe she did say that you could use secure the pieces with adhesive tape. Make sure the adhesive tape does not fall under the stitch and under the fastening of the hoop. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and get my masking tape again. You don't want to use your spray, your quilt basting spray on this because it is going to leave a sticky residue. And this is going to be the portion of the wallet that is going to be seen. So I'm going to tape here to hold those down. And I'm also going to tape across here because this is going to be underneath the, you're going to flip the hoop back over and this is going to be on the bottom of the hoop. And I know for some people that may seem a little bit confusing. It did to me at first, that why am I putting something again on the back? Okay, so again, I just want to make sure that everything's lined up. And I'm making sure I use a big enough piece of tape because I do not want this coming off. And make sure that one's straight. Definitely make sure they're on there straight with the straight line seams here, because when that is stitched down, it's going to help the placement of your pockets so they're nice and straight inside the wallet. And the wind is really picking up out there. I don't know if you guys can hear that tinkling of my wind chimes out there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that like that. I might just put a piece of tape across the bottom and the tops of these, just so I know they're attached a little bit better. And I know that looks kind of ridiculous, but flip this back over, push down so I know all my tape is attached well. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you're going to put it back, the hoop back into the machine, and you are going to okay, so that's the inside. You're going to zigzag for your trimming. And then you're going to remove the hoop, and then you're going to cut off excess fabric. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put it back into the machine. And I'm going to hold on it. Okay, so I'm going to adjust the camera again, and I will be right back. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and do the tack down and the zigzag stitch that will be for the final cutting of the fabric. And go ahead and hold that thread tail. Thread tail off. And I still have it set to that slow speed. I don't want to rehearse anything at this point. We're just going to go ahead and leave it at that speed. This is going to take 5 minutes. I'm going to just go ahead and leave it so you guys can see it. I've had a couple people email me and just do a little chat, and they asked me what if you could see back there in the over there, back there. You can see that Frosted Flakes box, and it actually has quilt magazines in it. And if you go to the store and you try to buy, if you see this little thing here, it's like a file bin. If you try to find ones for magazines at the store, they can get expensive. So I took the big cereal boxes that you get cereal in, of course, from either Sam's Club or Costco. And what I did is I covered them with like a plastic fabric that's got like the felt on the inside, almost like a felt lined tablecloth where it's plastic on top. But you can buy the fabric by the yard at either Joann's or Hobby Lobby. And I did that, and I covered those boxes to make them look a little nicer. And I made homemade magazine storage boxes. And that one's just sitting there, so it's to hold up my books on the bookcase, like my quilting books, my notebooks, and things like that. Okay, we got 3 more minutes. You can see that it is doing that zigzag stitch. And this is going to be where then after we trim, this is going to be like the knockdown underlying stitch for the zigzag. We are almost done. I was really frustrated when the error on the last one happened, and I was just so disappointed. This has literally taken 5 times to get this done, and I'm still not done. We still have 2 other files to do after this one, so there will be 2 more videos, and then the hand assembly, so that'll probably actually be 3 more videos. Got 2 more minutes. After this particular stitch out, I will have to, when I pause the video to do the trimming of the excess fabric, I'm going to have to wind some more bobbins because the satin stitch will take quite a bit. And I will be doing the satin stitch on this speed that I have it as well. It's what's working, so I'm going to go ahead and just leave it at that. All right, we got 1 more minute. You can kind of hear that little chirp that when the arm moves. When I was talking about earlier about lubricating your arm, that's what I was talking about. Okay, so we are done with the stitch out. I'm going to cut thread. Okay, and make sure that if you do ever lubricate your machine, make sure it is the correct kind of lubricant, because some of the lubricants are not made for aluminum, so you really need to check that. And we have a little visitor over here. You might see her tail. That was Luna's tail that just flashed by. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and remove it from the hoop. I'm not sure why it's not. Okay, so the back looks pretty good. It did stitch over the tape, and I don't have a problem with that because it's just a straight, the zigzag. I am going to take the tape off, and we are going to trim excess fabric now. And there is a little bit of tape left there, but it's not really bad. I will show you in just a minute. Okay. I'm going to trim a couple threads. Okay. Give me just a moment. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that is what it looks like attached. And you can see a little bit of tape right here. If it bothers you, you can pick it out. I think I'm going to go ahead and pick if I can without disturbing those stitches. Luna crawled up into my gaming recliner behind me. She's a little bit jumpy today with all the wind blowing. She got scared earlier. Somebody's trash, I guess, trash bags were blowing down the street, or empty Walmart bags or something, and it spooked her. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is you're going to trim the fabric away from the front, and you're going to make sure you don't cut any of your stitches. So I'm going to pause the video, do that off camera, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have all the excess fabric trimmed off. You can see that I did get nice and close to that zigzag stitch. And if it's not close enough, you can kind of like with your finger just kind of like rub up a little bit, and it will kind of like push that edge just kind of into the stitching a little bit, and will stitch over when you do your satin stitch. This is what your back now looks like. And I'm going to go ahead and put another piece of tape over these so they do not, sorry you can't see this off a camera here at a frame. I'm just going to put a couple pieces of tape to hold these down. And my tape curled up, darn it. I have to tell you, it's such a relief that this turned out this time. I was just so frustrated, and I was talking to a friend on Snapchat, and I was telling her that I'm cussing it and yelling at it, and I'm ready to take it outside and burn all of it, and it was just... It was frustrating, to say the least. I shouldn't have had to do it 5 times. I will know next time definitely what to do. Okay, so I just kind of taped those down a little bit, and that'll be enough. I'm just going to rub my hands on the top to make sure I get that tape good and stuck on there. Okay, so that's stuck on there good enough. Okay, you can see the residue of the glue stick on that water-soluble stabilizer. And that's not going to be a big deal because we're just going to cut the stabilizer off when we're finished. Okay, so I'm going to attach back to the machine. And now what we're going to do is we are going to finish our zigzag stitch. And you can see here that it is stitch color 6, and it's the satin border. And then after that we remove the stabilizer and this portion will be finished. I am going to go ahead and remove this again because I need to make sure. I'm going to go ahead and pause the camera because I know I'm going to need another bobbin. I have about half of the bobbin here, so I'm going to go ahead and wind 2 more bobbins, so just so I know I will have enough. This is a big thread user, so I will pause and I will be right back. Okay, so I have my 2 extra bobbins threaded or wound. We're going to go ahead and put it back into the machine. And hopefully the bobbin that I do have in there will be enough to do the stitch out. We're going to go ahead and correctly thread the machine. Since I wound the bobbin, I'm using the same thread in the bobbin as I am in the top. It's funny, I always have problems threading the machine on camera. If I do it off camera, 9 times out of 10 I get it on the first try. But it seems like always on camera I have issues. Darn it, look. Come on. And I'm trying not to get my big old head in here. Why are you being uncooperative with me? Okay. We're just going to stick it through there ourselves and not use the needle threader. See, that was easy. Okay. We're going to go ahead and start the satin stitch, and I am going to clip, before I do that, make sure that there are the threads sticking up. That way I don't have to trim those out of the satin stitch later. Okay, go ahead and start. And it's going to do another little straight stitch. I'm going to pause and trim that thread. And this is going to take 25 minutes. So I'll let you watch it a couple minutes here, and then I will pause and come back when we are just about done. And it's just doing another stitch all the way around to fasten, to make sure that it is fastened down, and then it will start the satin stitch. I will go ahead and pause and then come back when we're almost finished. Okay, so I zoomed in so you guys could see this last portion. It has about 4 minutes left to do, just to this bottom corner here, and then it'll be finished. I really got to tell you that I am so pleased with the way this one has turned out, and I really think I like this better than my test one I did. Yeah, I love that I matched the thread on this one. To me, it gave better results. I will show you in just a moment when it finishes. I'm going to go ahead and let it keep stitching. It has about 2.5 minutes. This little part back here, this black thing, this thing that you guys can see back here, if you're not familiar with Pfaff sewing machines, they have something called ITH, which is basically takes the place of a free motion, or not a free motion, but a walking foot on other machines. It's really great because that way you don't have to purchase an additional walking foot. Just about done. Maybe an inch more to go, 2 inch, inch and a half. The only thing down here at this other end is I see one possible little thread that kind of poked through, and that's it. Hopefully when I take it off the hoop, 1 minute left. And I know this video has been pretty long. This is the biggest portion of the wallet, is this section that we have done, this file that we have done. We have 2 more files to do, 3 and 4. And if you want to do a different variation of your pockets for the inside of the wallet, you will do file 5. But when we get closer to that, I will explain that a little better. Okay. Embroidery is now complete. We are done with file 2. We're just going to take it from the machine, and I am going to readjust the camera and I will be right back. Okay, so I've got the camera readjusted to our regular overhead perspective. Okay, so like I was saying, I am really, really happy with the way this part turned out. When I did my test piece and I made so many mistakes, I'm actually kind of happy that happened because it's taught me what to look out for when you do in the hoop embroidery. This has been my first in the hoop project where you're actually assembling pieces like this, other than a key fob where it's just the piece of vinyl on the back, the vinyl that you stitch, and then the vinyl on the back. Those are pretty simplistic. With the mistakes that I made, it has taught me to really look out for things that can happen. I did purchase 2 other designs from this seller, and I will be making those. I don't know if I will make them right away after this wallet. I may make a different item from another seller. Yeah, so, okay, so a few things so far. With this one, I was saying that I really like that I matched the thread with the fabric on this one. Because you can see all the white on the edges here, and that was because of the fabric after I cut it and the little bit of fraying. It kind of it showed up in the satin stitch. So I do like the different contrast on this. But if I was, next time I do it, I think I would definitely match the inside fabric with this. So that way it possibly will be hidden a little bit better. We're going to go ahead and finish taking this one out of the hoop. Let me stick my hoop back together and get it out of the way. And again, like I was saying, this is a really longer video, and I apologize for that, but I also showed you what can happen if you don't know a design. Like I didn't know this one. Even though the 5th time was the charm on this one, the speed that I was stitching at messed me up. So again, with the thread nests, the speed messed me up. So definitely do a test if you're going to be selling them. That way you know what to expect. I am going to cut away this water-soluble stabilizer, and it's not going to tear. So I'm going to pause, finish that, and then I will come back and show you a little closer the finished result. Okay, so I have the water-soluble stabilizer trimmed, and I just have a couple little threads here. I need to go ahead and put that back up there so the threads don't fall down in there. Here and here. And I'm going to show you the edge that I actually left on. And you can see that I did leave just a little bit of water-soluble stabilizer along the edge. And that is so you don't cut into your satin stitch. And the way you can get rid of that edge of the water soluble is, this is all I do. I am going to show you how easy. I just make a little, squirt some water, and I'm not spraying directly on a table. I do have a silicone mat here on my table. So I just spray some water on my table, and I literally just kind of dip my fingers in it and run my fingers along the edge until that water soluble melts. And I do it this way because I don't want to wet this whole wallet. That is what worked for me on here, because I don't want to mess any of my stitching up. I don't want to take that risk. So I'm just using my fingers. And this is also going to kind of like stiffen up the stitching on this edge. And it's just melting perfectly. I did have a lady in one of my quilt groups I belong to that says that she uses like a fabric glue, like this one, on the edges just to give a seal. And that was when I was talking about this project, and I did consider doing that, but when I just started doing it this way, to melt these edges, the leftover, I guess the starches of the water soluble, just kind of like put a nice edge on the satin stitch. And I'm not using a lot. I'm just literally dipping my fingers in this little puddle of water and just rubbing it on that so it melts. There may be other ways to do it. I like the way this works. I don't want to, like I was saying, I don't want to dip this into water, submerge it completely, because then it will melt the water soluble stabilizer that's giving it some structure. I couldn't think of the word. I am really tired. I have been at this all day, and I am so happy with this. We are almost done. And again, if you don't want to do it this way, just however you wish to do it, whatever works for you. If you want to soak it in water, go ahead and do that as well. Okay, so let me stand back up and show you the finished edge. So you can see that the water soluble is all melted. I do have just a little thread right there that I can just nip really lightly. And that is from the inside. And I might have just nipped a thread, but I think I may end up putting some of that glue on there because I just nipped a little thread. Well, darn it. Okay, so you can see some little, I missed a spot. Darn it, darn it, darn it. Okay, so on our next video, we will be constructing the zipper pocket for the inside of the wallet. That one's kind of stressed me out a little bit as well. And I just don't really like sewing zippers. There we go. That looks really nice. Let me know what you guys think. If you have any questions, please ask down below. Leave any comments. Let me know what you think caused the issue here. I did explain that when I started, I was having some issues with the thread. It was tearing. There were some other things. Let me know what you guys think. Tell me what you think caused that. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe, hit that button. I am able to look on my video YouTube analytics, and I'm able to see that 85, it ranges, it changes all the time. 85 to 90% of you guys are not subscribed to my channel that watch the videos. So please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, give it a thumbs up. That really helps my video be seen more. And if you like the videos, you know, that lets you, you know, get notified, things like that. So we will see you all soon. Please look in the description box where you can find the Etsy store to purchase this design, because you will have to purchase the design to get the stitch out file. And I think that is it for today. Until the next video, we'll see you all really soon. Bye-bye.